afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast Addendum with me, your host, Imperial Dane. Master of talking about stuff. Yes, you know that. So what's today's topic, you might be wondering? Well, in this case, I want to talk about the audiovisual difference in terms of design between companies 1 and company 2. Specifically, well, some people have noticed, how, for example, like sort of color palette wise, like companies 2 is a lot more, shall we say, just brown and grey. So it's a lot more subdued. Obviously, that's partly what the design is aimed for. They want more drab, darker, nastier sort of thing. But at the same time, they might have overdone it a bit. They're similarly, like, talking about unit lines and similar, like they're just not quite on the same level as the one companies 1. Again, they were sort of, just a bit more over the top, a bit more explosive. They had a bit more pep to them. And of course, again, they might have done that again for the more serious thing. But the problem with that is, though, they might have slightly missed, part of, well, why they actually did it that way. Because the thing is, in the strategy game, you're really sort of, sitting here in a detached angle from everything. Like, you're staring here from, sort of a oblique angle down and everything. You're not in there. It's not like an FPS where you're just running around in the mud, getting shot and all that. You're just here, sitting safely. In that regard, I think the company's 1 designers, they sort of hit on something. That is, again, it's actually important to slightly exaggerate everything there. So again, you sort of actually, reaches up to you because you're removed, you're detached, you only got to see and watch. Even then, you can't, smell or sense anything. So again, you're relying pretty much on audiovisual feedback, and again, rather detached angle from where everything is actually happening, and that requires you to sort of really, get drawn into it. It needs to be exaggerated. It needs to be a bit more, than it actually would be in reality. For example, it's a bit similar to, for example, with airplane food. Due to how, altitude pressure and all that there works, you can't really taste food nearly as well as you otherwise normally would. So the airlines basically just, salt and spice up the food a lot so you can actually taste it up. And if you try to eat airplane food down here, you'd probably, be, good God, that's quite spicy. But up there, it's just, alright, it's fine. And similarly, again, you're sort of detached here. So rather than that, again, a bit like, they did in companies 1, they just exaggerated everything, design, visual is a bit brighter, a bit sharper, and again, audio wise, there was just a bit more exaggeration of everything. The emotions were a bit more exaggerated from the troops, the lines were a bit more exaggerated. Again, it wasn't just super realistic, because super realistic, when you again this detached, doesn't work. It's just going to come apart as being, well, really detached and just really bland. Part again when all the browns here, for example, maps like Statute, for example, are just horrible to look at because it's just an endless, parade of browns and greys, maybe with a bit of dark yellow, which isn't exactly, very interesting to look at. In that regard, companies 1, in some cases, at least, managed to look a bit more exciting, had slightly more vivid colours. Of course, there's nothing wrong having dark colours, but like the problem with companies 2's colour palette is goes, from like, brownish to, slightly less brownish in a lot of cases. I mean, even the grass is, pretty subdued. It's not, particularly green. I mean, most grass tend to look a bit brighter than that, at least, here where I reside. So, like, they could have done more with the colour palette but again, it's desire, I think, to create, this darker atmosphere, rather let them to, like, overdo it in that sense. Just make everything too drab, rather than realise, hot bright colours can actually create a contrast for the darkness they seek to, create. In that regard, contrast by is a really powerful concept when done correctly. And similarly again with the voice lines, while they have some darker stuff, they again do to the way the whole thing can deliver, it just doesn't quite have, say, the impact, the voice lines, for example, had in Companies 1, where again, they were slightly more exaggerated, but part of it was also just more voice lines, there was also, voice lines from when they were wounded, so they'd be, like, oh God, I'm not doing too well and all that. So, in this regard, I do think, like, they might have slightly looked things again. It's probably in part just also the fact they had to rush through everything, CoH2 dying and all that, so obviously there's a bit more pressure on just to get things done. But I do think, would have benefited a lot more from just a bit more exaggeration. And that's the move towards Company 3. I do think they should keep that in mind, They didn't even want to make it more serious and dark, all that. They still need some exaggeration simply because, again, you are at this, detached angle. You're not in the mix of it. You're not like, running around there getting shot at. So again, this requires, all the sounds are a bit, more touched up. They have a bit more impact. Bullets, should definitely sound like they have more impact in Companies 2 or Companies 3, than for example doing Companies 2. Like, they need to hit, you need to be up here, be able to really hear just, boom, impact there. There needs to be some more, like, snaps and cracks and all that. And artillery definitely needs to have a bit more of an impact. Everything just needs to be a bit more exaggerated, I think, for Company 3, just, again, voice lines, but also just, shots and tank sounds as well. I mean, when a tank hit in Companies 1, particularly the tank, you just sort of hear it. That was definitely some weight to it. In Companies 2, there's there's less weight to it. Maybe like when there's a king tank in the field, it feels like there's a bit of weight to it. But like the Tiger Tank 1, you know, it just doesn't quite feel like it has the weight part, because again the sound design, the visual design isn't quite, you know, up there where it was, I think, in Companies 1. So in that regard, you know, visual effects lastly also needs to be a bit more exaggerated. You know, dust being kicked up, you know, shots fired, everything needs to be touched up and just exaggerated to a certain degree, I think, just, you know, to sort of properly, you know, shall we say, communicate to the player, so that way they can sort of get more drawn into the experience. Because again, like right now, a lot of it just feels, you know, very subdued, which, you know, fine in the FPS, but it's sort of down there, works, but it just, you know, it ends up feeling a bit, shall we say, tame and not quite there, if you will. So that's sort of, you know, my thoughts on that subject matter. Again, I do think that's where Companies 1, you know, did some things right. Again, everything was a bit exaggerated, everything was a bit over the top, and mostly because I think they understood, again, from this detached angle, you're not really, you know, be able to get into it unless it is exaggerated. It needs to be a bit more over the top, a bit like, you know, how with aircraft food, they have to, you know, just spice it up there, because again, up in the sky, like here, you're just not going to be able to, you know, quite savor it as you would be if you were down on the ground. So I definitely think like there is a lesson there for, I think, the Company 3 developers when they get around to it. And again, is, you know, remember, you know, exaggerate things a bit, you know, audio lines, sounds, visual effects, also just the color palette. Don't be afraid to use bright colors. Do not be afraid, because again, with then darker colors, you get sort of more contrast. That way, again, things, you know, stand out more as well, and things feel a bit, you know, more lively and exciting, which is definitely what they should want to do. So that's sort of the Propagandacast Addendum for today, covering the topic of audio-visual design between Companies 1 and Companies 2, especially sort of, you know, the smaller details. They're the things that don't necessarily get so much talk, but which again, I do feel as, you know, part of the overlooked things there from Companies 1, which I feel was sad in this outcome. So you can understand why they did it, but I do still think that was, you know, something that could have been maybe avoided. So there you go, today's Propagandacast Addendum. Hope you enjoyed it, hope you learned something from it. If you did, subscribe, like, share, comment, share it with everyone. This is Imperial Dane signing off, and I'm back tomorrow for another exciting video with some other topic. Cheers.